Hi, I'm 19 years old, and up to this point I've read about fantasy, romance, and that's about it, besides the few classics that they made me read during school. But now that I am in college and I get to choose my major, I'm only going to see engineering ever again. That means the only books that anybody can force me to read are going to be about circuits and code. What am I going to learn from that? Nothing. That's what. Ever since I started watching Gilmore Girls, I have wanted to be Rory Gilmore. No. I have wanted to be Laura. No, definitely not. I've wanted to have the wit of Rory Gilmore without all the bad decisions and also without the terrible taste in romantic partners. So of course I want to be able to make the references that Rory Gilmore makes, but I don't have the time in my busy engineering schedule to just sit around reading classics all day. So how am I going to find all of these pretentious references to novels and art, classic novels and classic art in such a short amount of time? Well, I just had to find the most pretentious book that I could. If you look at me right now, I'm a normie. I look stupid and boring. I talk stupid and boring. The Secret History by Donna Tartt is going to change all that. This book follows a pretentious 20-year-old in a small Vermont college. Now, I may be stuck in a Big Ten school in the Midwest, but I'm confident that by the end of this 560-page journey, I will be able to emulate that East Coast wit and snobbiness right here in Nebraska with ease. So without further ado, let's get reading.
That's not real.
Okay, here we are for a little progress report. I've got my pumpkin since it is fall time. I really thought that this was going to be like a fall book, just because it's about school and whatnot. It is way more of like a winter, spring kind of book. Very cold and unforgiving. But I forgive it. A really cool thing about this book is that on the very first page it comes out and tells you, yeah, we killed this guy. And then you have to go through hundreds of pages of them acting buddy-buddy with this guy that they admit that they killed, and then you're just sitting there wondering, like, what's gonna go wrong? Why are they gonna kill this guy? It's like a reverse murder mystery, which I was not expecting at all, because all I'd heard about this book was that it was pretentious, but it was a cool aspect. But at the beginning of this book, you meet the narrator, and he sucks. He's unsatisfied with his life in small town California, which is like, fine, whatever. But then he transfers to this small college in Vermont, thinking that he's gonna find his people there, his pretentious people. Pretty much immediately, he finds out about this weird professor who only takes 5 students at a time, and that exclusivity sounds perfect to freaking Richard. Richard's his name, Richard Papin. Also, the professor teaches classics, which is perfect for Richard because he happened to already know ancient Greek, being the pretentious dirtbag that he is. Not to say that if you study classics and if you know ancient Greek, you're automatically a pretentious dirtbag, but if you do it the way Richard does it, sorry. But there's not nearly as much of the professor as I thought that there would be. I really imagine this being like these 5 students. They're under the wing of this problematic professor, and he kind of leads them to do weird stuff, but in reality, it's more like they were going to do messed up stuff anyway, and the professor's just kind of there to provide some inspiration for like the style in which to do it. Like, yeah, we're going to do a bunch of drugs and then trespass and then commit an unspeakable crime, but what if we did it in the style of the Bacchanalia of ancient Rome? So at the end of the day, it's way less pretentious dark academia and way more a character study of these 5 rich, narcissistic jerks, and also the 6th, the narrator, who is not rich, but he is pretentious and a jerk. What made this book surprisingly down to earth, though, is that the college that they actually go to, Hampton, is not really fancy or selective at all. Like, nobody else in the student body really cares about academics at all. It's just these 6 nerds and their professor trying to make this place seem more prestigious than it is, which I think is really funny, and it paints them in a terrible, terrible light. This is one of those books that's like an example of how not to be a person, like The Scarlet Letter. It does admittedly drag on a bit, and the murder like just happened in the very middle of this book, which is weird. I thought it was going to be either right at the beginning or right at the end, but it is bam smack in the middle. You see all the lead up, and then we're going to see some of the fallout, I guess. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, but let's get back to reading and hope it wraps up nicely. I can't really get up right. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pretend. Ugh. Unfortunately, I do not have another reading montage for you. The book was overdue at the library. I had it for like a month and a half. I went on the website yesterday to check my status, and my status was delinquent because I still had the book. So I had to get that straightened out real fast. So now my status is okay. Don't worry. The book is back at the library. I'm just going to have to do the rest of this video without it. Before we get into my final thoughts, I happen to have a friend who goes to a small college in Vermont. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity to fact check this book, see if all these tropes and stereotypes are as real as they seem. Here is my interview with my good friend Jonah out at Middlebury in Vermont. Enjoy.
I have to say that I'm not missing the Nebraska weather.
The leaves started turning in Vermont yet? Oh, wow, look at that. Oh.
That's
yeah.
It's starting. It's prettier in the mountains.
Oh, of course, the mountains.
There's like a mezzanine in the library. It's like a quiet space, and it like overlooks the mountains, and it's like the best like little study niche ever. I love it.
Wow, that sounds wonderful, Jonah. Our best view is like a couple of trees and a little statue. The real question is the population pretty pretentious?
It's a lot of, there are like a ton of rich people, I'm not gonna lie. But I would say most of the people are pretty chill, down to earth. It's just like my roommate, Richard. Both of his parents work in the oil extracting industry.
I think we should go through a little checklist here. See how many points this book gets in terms of realness. Does it feel like everyone's at least kind of familiar with each other?
Basically all the time you'll have people like saying hi to each other.
Okay.
And even I'll like go to the dining hall and I'll almost always be able to recognize somebody I know. And you always see the same people around. So a lot of the faces have become familiar. So
next question. Has there been a murder?
I hope not. Not that I know of, no. We did have a kid get hit by a car at like 11 p.m. a few nights ago.
Is there a group of, say, 5 or 6 students who only take classes with one professor, and that professor is obsessed with like ancient Greece and the dead language of ancient Greek?
Not that I'm aware of.
So you might not know yet. It's only been a month. They're probably there somewhere.
That's true.
Are there any cliques?
There are.
Oh.
There's one.
There's one.
It's the UWC kids that I know so far.
What is UWC?
It's basically like the United World College kids. They basically all went to a system of like international private schools across the world, and they all like know each other.
Wow. Okay. How many people would you say this group consists of?
At least like 20 in our class.
Okay. That was the big question. I can't believe that actually kind of exists. That's big points for this book.
Hey, Sherry. Oh, Sherry, he's one of the kids that's part of the world.
Oh, he's in.
He went to the Norwegian one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Norwegian one.
Nice. Wow, that was awesome.
There are a lot of Latin kids that speak Latin here. There's a lot of them went to like really like small, prestigious like private schools that just like valued it for no reason.
Thank you for calling me today. I think I've got the perfect interview, and enjoy beautiful Vermont.
I will.
All right. A striking amount of similarity, to be sure, between the book and the real world of colleges in Vermont, small colleges in Vermont to be exact. That begs the question, what does this book say about ourselves and our lives and how we exist within this world? Well, that's a question I aim to answer. For one thing, it certainly does not help you actually seem prestigious. This is like the fanciest thing I could think to pull out after reading the book, and I pretty much only look dressed up enough to maybe go to an Outback Steakhouse. But you know, I don't think that's the point exactly. I think the point of this book is, like I said earlier, to show you what not to do in your life. Don't devote yourself entirely to one person / perspective. Don't take yourself so seriously that every mistake is unforgivable. Don't kill someone. And just stay grounded. Don't get into some sort of mindset that everything is beneath you because A, you'll never have any fun ever again, and B, no one's gonna be impressed by you anyway. It's a lose-lose situation. So did I like this book? Kind of. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier with all the library confusion, but I did finish it, so I do have the right to have an opinion. I went into it thinking it would be something completely different, and had I gone in knowing what it was, maybe it would have been a 5-star read, but as it stands, I was kind of attacked with a lot of just hanging around. It was like I was being forced to hang out with 6 people that I did not like, and sometimes they would say really interesting things, but most of the time they were just being needlessly rude to each other and to me. That being said, there were some stellar passages in this book with the writing. The library took it from me, so I don't have any actual quotes for you, but I remember the passage about the Bacchanalia. Bacchanalia? Bacchanalia. Bacchanalia. I feel like that's how I'm supposed to be pronouncing it. The passage where the Bacchanalia are described by Henry, that's beautiful writing right there, and I really wish that the whole entire rest of the book was like that, because that's exactly what I was hoping for. Those kind of pretentious references. How many times have I said pretentious in this video so far? But this book also captured really well the feeling of finally being able to fit in to a certain group that you've been trying to fit into. It had the exact same feeling as like you're in high school theater and you're eventually old enough to just bum around with the directors during rehearsal. They let you into their secrets and their inner workings. For me personally, I was a little disappointed. It was well written, but at times maybe just a bit boring. So for me, it gets 3 stars. 3 stars, but in another life, maybe 5, if I'd known what it really was going on. I'm also not feeling nearly as pretentious as I thought it would by the end of this reading journey, but I will say that both this book and Rory Gilmore made a reference to a poem called The Charge of the Light Brigade, so my theory that I would find Gilmore-esque allusions was, in fact, correct. Maybe it wasn't a good goal, looking to be pretentious, you know, in life and for this book. Perhaps we should practice kindness. Pursue the things that we know make us happy, and make an effort to spread joy to ourselves and others. What do I know? What do I know? I'm coming back.